What made you want to tag team this current era of music with the 2000s event that's happening in Buffalo in a few weeks?
Well, those things are just really fun. I'm a big guy. I love nostalgia, I mean, I can tell, we're probably not far off ages, but we had the awesome generation of classic TV and kid, all that stuff. And I'm a big Disneyland fan. I love people are like, "What? Why did you go to Disneyland so much?" I'm like, "Because when you walk in, you're like, oh yeah, this is what it felt like when I was a kid. Like I don't, I can not worry for a couple hours and just have fun."
Tell me about your family story with Alzheimer's.
Yes, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 7 years before she passed. At first, we thought she kind of had what my grandmother before her had, because we grew up with my grandmother, and she always had Alzheimer's, so we kind of knew what was going to pass. At first, she was very similar. She was forgetful, couldn't find her keys, left the stove on, little incidences like that.
I know a lot of attendees coming to these shows, hope that they're the ones that,
Right.
Sarah calls on. But
Mhm.
talk about how beautiful it is to just be a viewer of, the
Yes.
connection you're making with someone.
That's the thing that I think I love the most, Gio, is I don't think people understand how special it is to be in a space like that. I watch perfect strangers console one another through their grief, through receiving messages.
Monday marks 10 years since X's and O's was released, which is absolutely, I was just looking it up, which is totally crazy. How does, take me through the past 10 years? Did you know that that was happening on Monday? That was the anniversary date?
No. Oh my gosh, am I old?
Speaking of that connection with the listeners and, the band and just everyone who's, watching this show, with you having done probably thousands of shows at this point, is there still that one song that kind of follows from set list to set list that makes you feel connected with the audience?
Luckily, there's a few of those. Obviously, I'm Yours is a big one. People have such personal ties to that song.
Been waiting for this highly anticipated film adaptation of the hit musical, and our own Gio Battaglia counts himself as one of those fans. He was in the middle of all the action tonight.
Teresa, coming to the theater tonight is very reminiscent of events we saw last year, like Barbie and Oppenheimer and the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie premiere, but there is a whole new energy in the theater as fans who have loved this musical for a long time are ready to see it on the screen.
Another person who's there, Gio Battaglia. And Gio, you have been to a number of concerts over the years. My question for you is this: does this have that concert feel to it right now?
Absolutely. When I was walking through, all the different sections, I felt like it was when Teresa and I were at the Beyonce concert in Toronto. But I got to say, the energy here is matched.
After a late start, tonight marked the end of the 21st edition of the Rochester International Jazz Festival. 1,800 musicians turning Gibbs Street into Jazz Street. That's where we find News 8's Gio Battaglia. He's been at the Jazz Fest all day long and spoke to organizers and local businesses about how this year shaped up compared to others, and why it's also essential to Rochester. Hi there, Gio.
Hey, Izzy, even after a little rain did those scheduling changes and moved some acts around, the energy that was maintained on Jazz Street today was people wanting to have a good time and listen to some music. And with more than 200,000 attendees, people did just that.
When you have such an extensive career, you have your own songs, you have songs from roles that you've played. How do you kind of piece together a set list that's cohesive?
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness that when people think of me, I think they do think about they think of a guy that does a lot of stuff, because a lot of people's first introduction to me through Hamilton was kind of a guy that sang a little bit of this, a little bit of that, danced a little bit, acted a little bit, and we've built on that.